on this computer. Okay, we should be recording now.
Okay. I'd like to call the Parks and Trails Commission meeting, the January 21st Parks and Trails Commission meeting to order. Roll call. Meister is here. Christensen.
Here.
Dugan.
Here.
Hoffman. Here. Nybo.
Here.
Streller.
Here.
And Anderson.
Here.
Okay, Jessica, do you have a flag for us?
I do. If you give me just 1 sec, I can share my screen and have it up. Oh, Brad has a mini flag. That's so cute.
Perfect.
Nice.
Okay. Awesome. All right. I pledge allegiance
to the
to
flag,
the flag
of the United
of
the
States
United
of
States
America
of America
and to
and
the
to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, with
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Well, that was weird.
That was perfection.
But we did it.
Okay. Third item, chairperson and vice chairperson election.
So we are going to do this every year, obviously. Currently, the chairperson is Chair Meister, and your current vice chairperson is Christensen. So now you guys get to make another motion on who you guys want for 2021.
I would like to make a motion that Sharon Meister be elected chair and Phil Christensen vice chair.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I'll second. Okay, any discussion? Phil, are you good?
Beat me to it. I was going to probably nominate him and you. But I'm fine. I can be co-chair.
Yeah. I mean, we've done so much, Phil.
Yeah, I
You
know.
it's
I know. I don't think I've done one thing as co-chair, but so it's Tom, you are officially back though, right?
I am back. We've had a long tradition of people being chair for a while and then not being chair after that. And I think
Sure.
that's a wonderful tradition. I don't need to grow old in this job, doddering around, still trying to be chair. So I'm happy to relinquish the gavel.
Sounds
You
good
guys
to me.
did a fine job. Yeah.
Okay. All right, then. Let's see, we've got a motion and a second. Okay, roll call vote. Anderson,
Aye.
Christensen,
I think I'll abstain.
oh, yeah. Dugan,
Aye.
Hoffman. Aye. Nybo
Aye.
and Streller.
Aye.
Okay, the motion has passed. That was quick. Okay, agenda approval. Would anyone like to make any amendments to the agenda?
Jessica, you sent out another agenda. What, I didn't know that I saw any differences.
It wasn't necessarily a different agenda. It's just your enhanced one. It's so that it makes the digital follow along a little easier.
Gotcha. Motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the roll call vote. Anderson,
Aye.
Christensen,
Aye.
Dugan,
Aye.
Hoffman. Aye. Meister says aye. Nybo
Aye.
and Streller.
Aye.
Awesome. Okay, the minutes way back in September. Any questions or comments for the minutes of the September 17th meeting? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the September 17th meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay. Okay,
Did we get a motion?
I didn't.
I
Yeah,
heard the second.
Oh, I
I'll make
thought
a
she
motion
motioned.
to approve.
Oh, John did? Okay. Okay, roll call vote. Anderson? Tom Anderson, you're on mute.
That has not changed. Present, I was not at that meeting.
Christensen?
All right.
Dugan?
Aye.
Hoffman?
Aye.
Meister votes aye. Nybo?
I was not there.
Okay, and Streller.
Aye.
Okay. Open forum.
So I would ask if anyone is interested in speaking. However, the people that are on the call are Councilmember Nichols, Mayor McKee, and the rest is Three Rivers, and I would think that they want to speak during their presentation time. So I think as long as we move forward, we should be good.
Okay. All right, number 7, Three Rivers Park District. They're going to speak on the Diamond Lake Regional Trail. And whenever you guys are ready, thanks for coming. We're looking forward to the presentation update.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Chairmeister. My name is Marge Beard, and I am the Three River Park District Commissioner. I represent District 1, which includes all of Corcoran. And I'm very happy to be here because this is my first time before your Park and Trail Commission. I am a long-term resident of Plymouth, and I'm a former Plymouth City Council member, and I'm happy to continue serving the public on the Three River Park Board. And I'm very happy to be here tonight. We kicked off the master planning for this Diamond Lake Trail over a year ago. I remember it was a very, very cold day at the City Council meeting last December. I don't want to steal any of the thunder from the staff I'll pass this over to, but I have enjoyed working on this master plan. We even as a team, a Three Rivers team, went out and did a driving caravan to look at all the different options. So I've been all over your city looking at the different options that were discussed. So tonight we're here to share, I guess, where we are so far in a recommended path together working with staff. It's been a great experience for our staff and your staff working together. And with that, I'm going to just let the staff run with it because they have all the details, and I'll pass over to Stefan Scherson and Danny McCullough, who are the co-project managers for this. And thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Marge. Thanks, Marge, and Chair and Commissioners. Pleasure to be before you tonight, even though it's still virtual. Hopefully someday soon we'll be able to meet in person. Tonight, I want to give you an update on the master plan project that we have for the Diamond Lake Regional Trail. Go ahead. I'm joined tonight with by Danny McCullough, who's our Regional Trails Manager, as well as Stuart Crosby, as landscape architect, and he's our consultant on the project. Go ahead to the next slide. I think Stuart is the one controlling the slideshow here. So tonight we want to give you a quick overview of where we're at, an update with the project, review again the alternative routes that we're looking at for the project, review the public engagement and the comments that we received. But the main goal tonight is to discuss with you and get concurrence on a preferred route for the alignment through Corcoran. Then we can talk about next steps and have a discussion after that. Next slide, Stuart, thanks. So just as a quick refresher, the trail corridor is about 20 miles long between Wayzata and the Dayton and Rogers area. It's through 7 different communities, including Corcoran. Our trails are 10 feet wide, they're paved, multi-use, so biking and pedestrian use. And one of the main goals of this project, of this particular master plan, is to create a trail that is more of a what we call a destination regional trail. And by that we mean more scenic, more park-like. The idea is to connect, main goal is to connect to the valuable natural resources in the area, as opposed to, like, say, the Lake Independence Regional Trail that is on the western border of Corcoran, which is more of a straight line A to B type of trail. This one is designed, is envisioned to be more of a park-like experience. Next slide there, Stuart. Thanks. So as Marge mentioned, we kicked this off about a year ago, and we met with you in February, and we decided on the different routes to evaluate, and got City Council concurrence with that. In the summer, and really just we wrapped it up in December, was our community engagement. And of course, with COVID, obviously we had, it was a very different type of engagement that we typically would do, but we relied heavily on our website. We tried to make it as robust as possible with a lot of information. We had a web map for where people could make comments. Hopefully you had a chance to make some comments, or at least take a look at those comments. There were general comments there. We had a video, we had questionnaires, we had FAQs. So that was kind of our one-stop shop for engagement. And everything we did was try to encourage people to go to that site to give us their feedback. And we used things like Facebook. Your city newsletters are very helpful. We did pop-up type of events or engagement in local parks, as well as trails. We did direct mailings to folks. We had signs everywhere. You probably saw some of our signs around that were about the trail project as well. We tried to engage with underserved populations as well. We did a direct mailing and had a questionnaire for the Maple Hill Estates neighborhood in Corcoran. Reached out to various churches, including the St. Thomas Church, and also worked with the Interfaith Outreach and Community Partners Group, and engaged with their members as well. So tonight, and also last week we met with city staff to review what we're about to present here tonight, and want to get your concurrence on one preferred route. As you recall, last winter we were looking at multiple routes, and the goal in the next phase of the process here is to narrow that down to one preferred route. And we'll take that forward to the city council here subsequently, and then actually begin the drafting of the master plan after that. Next, I'll turn it over to Danny, who can talk to us talk a little bit about our regional trail system and some of the goals for that we envision for this trail project as well. Danny?
Yes, thank you, Stefan. Danny McCullough here. I'm the regional trail system manager. I've met most of the people on the meeting, but just wanted to briefly touch on a couple of things here with this slide that you see before you. One being, these are just some representative images of our existing trails that are more destination-like in nature. So we basically construct two types of trails or regional trails: destination trails and linking trails. Linking trails are simply those that, while they are a separated trail away from the road, they kind of are designed to connect point A to point B, or connect a park to another park through a developed area. Our destination trails are those that which is the goal of this project that Stefan mentioned. We view those as, okay, this is a regional trail that not only connects regional parks, other trails, local parks, local communities, but it's one that people actually travel to utilize. Not only will it serve your local residents, but it would serve people in the surrounding region. And so a good example of that is if you've ever been down to the Dakota Rail Regional Trail down in the Wayzata-Orono area. That's one of our most popular destination trails, as well as the Rush Creek Trail up in Maple Grove. So these are representative examples. As you can see in the middle top there, we know parts of this trail will be along a roadway. So that's a representative of what that might look like with a little bit of a boulevard separation. And then these are just in the middle there, some of the amenities we have along our trail system. And along the bottom, we have some images of our typical bridges over freeways, boardwalks across the edges of lakes and wetlands, and an example of our typical underpass that we build under roadways when feasible. So these are just some representative images to kind of get you in the mindset of what our system looks like. And when Stefan mentioned the destination trail vision that we have for the Diamond Lake Trail through Corcoran, I want to touch really quickly on a couple of ways that we achieve that. One of the ways is we play the long game. That's why we're here now. We're planning this knowing that this master plan, once it's complete, to construct this trail will take easily 10 to 20 years before any of this could become a reality. And so we're in this for the long game to create that vision of a destination trail that in essence would be a linear park in a lot of areas and give the user a park-like experience. So again, we're going to show you a lot of lines on maps tonight. A lot of them you've already seen, but just keep in mind that this is a long-term game that we're playing. And then one of the ways we achieve that is once the master plan's in place, is we work with developers sometimes to get a trail built in as part of a development project, but also if we need to acquire land through a piece of undeveloped land that we identify as an alignment for the trail, then we'll wait until the opportunity arises to purchase that land. And sometimes we're able to purchase an easement through the land. Sometimes we end up purchasing the entire parcel where it makes sense. And so there's a number of ways we go about this, but I just wanted to stress for the group tonight that that this is a long-term plan, that the vision is to be a linear park-like setting for the trail, to be a real destination for the region, and the development will occur slowly over time. So I just wanted to share those key points of how we accomplish that. And I'll turn it over, I guess, to Stuart now to go over some of the route analysis.
Great, thank you, Danny. My name is Stuart Crosby. I'm a landscape architect with SRF Consulting Group and have the honor of working with Three Rivers Park District on developing this master plan. What we are showing you on this slide is our route analysis, and in a previous bunch of slides we sent to you earlier, you had a chance to look at a table that showed you all of the different components of our analysis. We've highlighted those here, and really what I want to show you on this slide is that we have broken all of the segments into subsegments, and we've numbered and lettered those C1 through, I think it's 19 or 18. And each of those has been analyzed independently so that we can get a sense of comparing and contrasting those. But generally speaking, we have three routes. We have a western route, we have a central route, which essentially goes up County Road 116, and we have an eastern route. So this is the southern portion of the city of Corcoran. And you can see here the various different route options we looked at. I'd say that on the west, one of the higher benefits of that is it's more farmland, it's less developed. On the east side, there is more development, but there still is potential with undeveloped land. And then the central corridor along County Road 116, a trail in that alignment would likely be within the road right-of-way. So it would either be right up against the road or within that public right-of-way. So as we progress north here in the central part, what you see right here is Corcoran City Hall on County Road 116. We still have that western route that meanders through the farmland, and we do show in a hatched pattern here areas that are proposed for development. We've got the park right here on the west side, and then multiple different subsegments that head north. As we head north up here, we then continue those along the western side through the large wetland. There's the golf course on the very north. Here's the town line on the north with Dayton and Rogers. And we also have this C13 and C14 that cut across and get us over up on the east side at C8. So that's a very high level overview of the different subsegments that we have taken a look at. And Many of you, as you saw this earlier in the past year, these are the routes that we were presenting to the public to get public feedback on. And now I think I'll turn it over to Stefan, who can give us a quick overview of some of the public comments that we have heard.
Thanks, Stuart. Yeah, we received of the over 550 total comments, about 120 were in the Corcoran area. So that's pretty good representation for Corcoran. And in the next 3 slides here, we'll go through the city south to north like we did just before here with Stuart. And then the boxes on here correspond to the different segments, and the blue number represents the number of what we considered positive comments, the red number negative comments, and then the yellow is more of a neutral or kind of benign comment. So you can get kind of a rough sort of scorecard, if you will, of each segment. And hopefully you had a chance to review this in your packet. Real briefly here, the western route through the development here and through the farmland was viewed very positively. People liked being off-road, meaning away from busier County Road 116. Opportunities for a more scenic experience along the trail. The middle route along 116, we had a lot of negative comments about being next to a busy, noisy, and in some cases dangerous road, especially if we're dealing with crossing it. And then the eastern route, at least in the southern section here, was kind of a mixed bag because part of the trail is more off-road away from 116, while part of it is more adjacent to it. And the comments pretty much correlated to that. If the comments were next to the highway, they were negative. If they were away from the highway, they were more positive. And one thing about the eastern route in general too was that people were a lot of positive comments about being closer to where they lived. There's more population on the east side, and so we had a lot of positive comments about families being able to have access to the trail more easily. Go to the next slide. This is the middle section, and in here we have some positive comments about connection to the park. And again, more of an off-road experience on the west side here. The negative comments were largely about going through farmland, and people were questioning why we put a trail through a cornfield, which is kind of an obvious question, I guess. But once we actually had a chance to talk to those folks, and they realized that this is again a long-term project, and that the trail wouldn't be built until this area develops and subdivides. Those concerns were eased for sure. The eastern route, likewise, like being off-road, although there was a fair number of negative comments in the Brandywine neighborhood there at the northern part of C7 there. Go ahead to the northern section, and I guess the comments kind of continued here. The western route, positive for its being away from 116 and opportunities for more scenic experience. There's some negative comments about the wetland, the large wetland, and being next to the golf course, which were obvious questions, I guess. Likewise, 116, negative comments about being along the road, and then more positive comments on the eastern route here, going through the, I believe it's called the, is it Bellwether development to the west there. So that's a kind of a quick synopsis of the comments, and I'll turn it back over to Stuart, who can take us through take us through our suggested preferred route, and then we can open up for discussion after that.
Great, thank you, Stefan. So what I'm showing you here on this slide is a highlighted in pink preferred alternative route, and just wanted to mention as we look at this, one of the primary objectives, Danny and Stefan both mentioned this earlier, is to find a scenic off-road park-like corridor that over the time can be developed with the trail in the middle of it. And And so what you see here is at Hackmore Road, really, it's the southern boundary of with Medina and Corcoran. We are proposing the western route, County Road 116 right here, meandering through the development, the proposed development on the south side. We've taken a look at those plans, and this alignment that you see here does correlate, excuse me, with that development. As we head north here, the proposed trail alignment connects up with the community park and the development that's just to the north of it. Again, it does correspond with the plans for that development. But we really like the western route here. I think there's great opportunity to coordinate with proposed development. And then as we go north here, past City Hall, one of the options that you see this dash line right here, we see the potential for a local community connection to get over to City Hall, which would be really ideal. So you'd have connection to community park, potential connection to City Hall. And then as we head north through what is now agricultural land, but in the future as that develops, it provides the opportunity to develop this corridor with a wider component that would lend itself to that park-like character. As we head north up here, you'll see that up by the church, we are proposing that we will head east across County Road 116 and make our way over on, I think it's Hunter's Ridge right here. The other thing that I wanted to point out is these light green solid lines are the snowmobile routes. And we have had a conversation with the local snowmobile club. They're very interested in coordinating and partnering with Three Rivers Park District on the corridor, and if it is wide enough to partner with them so that snowmobiles in the winter potentially could use that corridor. So I wanted to point that out, that we've made that connection, and there is potential for some sharing. As I mentioned here on Hunter's Ridge, heading to the east through the Bellwether, proposed Bellwether development, and then up across Stieg Road and our way up towards Stieg Woods and the connection that is being developed at the Dayton interchange, and then heading up into Dayton and Rogers from this point. But we really like this route because we feel it does provide opportunities for that wide corridor that would give us the park-like experience, potential to work with developments that are being planned right now, and also it does align with some of the trail planning that the city has already put in place. So maybe I'll pause there, see Danny or Stefan if you have anything else you'd like to add. And if not, perhaps we could open it up for comments or questions.
This is Danny. I just wanted to add quickly there, the route that we are recommending here. One of the, I think, great things about it is, yes, it does cross through quite a bit of undeveloped property, or property that's undeveloped at this time. But it does really give all of us, not only the Park District, but your community, it gives us the chance to create a really nice linear park through some of these areas where we could potentially get a little bit of a wider corridor and really make this destination trail something special, something that the residents would certainly utilize, but also would really give that trail user, no matter where they're from, a park-like experience. And like I mentioned earlier, you know, we work with developers, as you're aware, but we also work with private property owners as well when properties come up for sale. We only purchase things on a willing seller basis. So like I mentioned earlier, if we have to wait a long time to do that, we can do that. Another way we can, this route, what's nice about it too is we know that it's not the entire trail is not going to be built in one project. It will come together in logical segments. And so we might have a situation where north of here, maybe the Dayton Rogers area, that trail, you know, gets constructed down to the future Rush Creek Trail that heads east and west. And maybe down on the south end of this entire network toward Orono, there's segments down there that make sense to construct. But but we can piece all of this together. And the nice thing about the Medina Corcoran area, and especially Corcoran, is there's a really great opportunity to create a really special corridor through this area. So I just wanted to mention that again.
I might also mention, this is Stefan again, how this regional trail corridor makes a really great sort of central spine, if you will, for your own local trail network. We tried to dovetail, the suggested preferred route here in coordination with your trail plan. But it gives you something that you can really work from and branch off from and connect to, moving forward. So if there isn't any other comments from our staff, or open chair to whatever questions you may have for us. And again, the goal tonight is to get the Park and Trails Commission concurrence on a preferred route.
Okay, any questions from anybody? Comments?
Question. So well, first, this route looks good. I think you put a lot of thought into it. We have the park connected, we have the city hall connected. I think that's great. But there's a lot of private land we're going through, right? And I know we have a long time horizon, 10, 15, 20 years, but if, let's say we construct a portion of it and there's some landowner that just does not want us to use it for a trail, do we reroute the trail? What's the process for that if we just don't think we're going to get a big chunk of it? How does the Three Rivers Park District kind of go through that process when that comes up?
I can take a stab at that question. So, even though, let's say this is the final written plan in the master plan, we do have a little bit of leeway in the future. Let's say 10 years from now, something dramatically changes in an area, or we just don't have a willing seller where we would like to have a willing seller. We can shift this alignment slightly, to the east or west. But so that's not uncommon. That does happen occasionally. And, some of these, you're right, these are large pieces of private property. We kind of make the assumption a lot of these larger tracts of land will sell for development, right? And maybe some of these areas, we're trying to purchase an easement, maybe not necessarily the entire lot, but just instead of a 20-foot easement or a 20-foot park dedication, maybe we strive for a 50-foot in certain areas, or 60 feet, or even 100 through an area that might have a high natural resource value. But again, we don't do eminent domain or any of those things. We try to work in conjunction with the property owners.
Have you in the past?
I'm sorry, what?
Have you used that in the past? As you've built out these trails?
In terms of, yeah, we've purchased easements.
No, I mean, have you gotten into an eminent domain situation in the past?
Danny, I could speak to that.
Yeah, why don't you speak to that? Because you're better suited to answer that question.
I'm Kelly Grisman. I'm with Three Rivers as well. I'm the director of planning. Three Rivers has used eminent domain in the past as the absolute end resort or last resort. And really in recent history, only on projects that had a substantial federal grant tied to them, in which there was some type of deadline that we needed to acquire all of the property rights and then deliver the project, or really we would be jeopardizing sometimes $5 million on a given project. And so when we go for those federal grant applications, we do so in partnership with the city, knowing that if push comes to shove, we'll need to work together to secure those last property rights. We also cannot legally acquire land through eminent domain without local consent. So while that is a tool in the toolbox, it's certainly not one that Three Rivers takes lightly, and it's not a tool that we can use without the city's support. So that, yes, we have done it. Are we looking at doing it on this quarter? Not anytime soon, and only if there was some really good reason that probably there was some type of federal fund, or it was the very last property on a 20-mile corridor, and that if we don't get that property, the whole corridor doesn't work. So as Danny said, the first thing we do is we look for other willing sellers or other development opportunities where we can shift the trail east or west, north or south. And in a corridor like this, where we're not tied to a road and there's really only one spot for the trail to go, here we've got a lot of flexibility. The line is, while it might look like a very defined alignment, it still is subject to a lot of additional engineering work, survey work, wetland delineation, and then also those development proposals. So the pink line is still very much conceptual, with lots of room to tweak it and modify it based on development proposals, willing sellers, and other things that might come up in the city's perspective too. There might be a new park that we need to shift it an eighth of a mile east or an eighth of a mile west to make that direct connection. There might be another landowner that's willing to donate a parcel, and by all means, we'd want to take advantage of that. So this is still very fluid, and this just shows conceptually the direction that we would like to go in partnership with the city.
Okay, I mean, that sounds great. I mean, yeah, you would only use an eminent domain situation as a last resort, but just for some perspective, in the last 15 years, have you used it?
Yes, we have.
Okay, does it come up often? I mean, you said it doesn't come up often, but how many times, right?
I believe we did it. We had I think just one project in the city of Richfield with a $5.5 million grant, building a new regional trail. And it wasn't necessarily that we had property owners that were not supportive of providing an easement, but we were not in agreement about the easement value. So the way the eminent domain process works with a federally funded project is we have to have all of the property rights in place by a sunset date. We didn't have those in place by the sunset date. So then you are required to move forward with the eminent domain process. And through the process, the courts determine the value of the property after the courts also determine that, yes, it's in the public's best interest or has public good tied to it.
Okay, and do we anticipate using large federal grants for this project?
We would always love to use large federal grants to do regional trail projects because they are expensive. Right now, the city of Corcoran probably is not a good candidate for a federal grant because you don't have enough density, you don't have enough low-income households, you don't have large employment centers that we're tying to. So when you think about all of the different regional trail corridors or trail projects across the whole metro region, this area is competing for trail corridors in the city of Minneapolis, and the way the scoring criteria works is the Minneapolis project will outscore this project almost every single day. So most likely, given the state of the financial affairs now and the different grant opportunities, I would anticipate that most of this corridor is paid for directly with Three Rivers funds, as well as Met Council Regional Park capital improvement funds, and not federal funds, especially for the Corcoran stretch. And I will just say that we would not be soliciting a federal funding application or funds without municipal consent. So the city has lots of opportunities to make their wishes known, and we would be moving forward in partnership on the timing of those applications.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So I guess my point is that we just have to keep that in mind, because obviously if we go down 116, well, there's already probably enough easement to build the trail, right? Now it's not going to be that nice of a trail. So if we choose west or east, well, there's a chance, obviously, because there's more private land, that something could come up. So I just kind of want to make that point that we should keep that in mind as we kind of think about which trails are right.
Right. So when you're comparing like the pink line to the corridor on 116, you have a given right of way now with certain transportation requirements, water drainage, utility, etc. So sometimes that corridor, while it seems like the path of least resistance, it might be possible, or it might still require an additional 3 or 4 or 5 feet of easement. And there's a lot less opportunity to like squeeze that trail in, where the pink line, because that project or that route would be most likely happening in conjunction with development, you have a lot more flexibility to secure that land and to route the trail kind of in partnership or coordination with everything else going on and avoid eminent domain.
Okay, okay.
Got a question. Have you guys reached out to any of the current landowners for the proposed route, west route?
Yeah, we actually did a mailing to all the property owners where any of the routes were going through their property directly, not even adjacent on the road, but actually through the property. We did a direct mailing to them and had an outdoor meeting this summer with them at the was it the Corcoran Public Works? And then in addition to that, we did another mailing. So that was probably, in Corcoran, might have been 50 or so property owners. Subsequent to that, we sent out another mailing about the project, inviting people to engage, to everyone within at least a half mile. And we actually then filled in some holes in between where those buffers were. So we did a lot of direct mailings, not only to the directly impacted property owners, but adjacent as well.
And what's the response when you engage with these owners?
Well, they were concerned, and even some of the, I think they were probably some of the people that left some of the comments on the webpage about impacts to their farmland and into their farming operations. And they came to the meeting, and they were, I think they left satisfied knowing that nothing was imminent, and that we weren't going to put a trail through their, directly through their cornfields, that it would be a willing seller basis. And as Kelly mentioned, and we all mentioned previously, we work in conjunction at the same time when development happens. At that point, many of them said, well, by then, and 10, 20 years out, I'll no longer be farming. And, I think they felt satisfied that that was a viable option at that point, and that no one was, coming for their land at this point in time.
Okay, and then the final question I have is, when you do exercise eminent domain, and it does go before court, what percentage of the time does the landowner win the case in your guys' history?
Kelly, you want to answer that?
Yep, I can take that again. So the eminent domain process requires that one of the first steps is we have to prove or the courts validate that the acquisition is for the greater public good. And once that decision is made, then the courts decide on the acquisition value. Now, we've only used eminent domain a handful of times in the last 10 years, and all of them were tied to a regional trail corridor in a fully developed community. And we had explored all other options to try to avoid going through the eminent domain process. We looked at redesigning the trail, we looked at rerouting trail sections. And so we were able to validate that, or verify that the project was in the public's best interest. And so in each case, the courts did rule favorably to Three Rivers. I would say that the price of the property was not always favorably to Three Rivers. It's very expensive to go through eminent domain. Legal fees are expensive, and you often pay a lot more than the property is valued at, because we do an appraisal, they do an appraiser. The court system itself kind of has its own process for determining the value of the land. And appraisal work is more of an art than a science. So you can hire an appraiser that tells you the value that you like it to be. If you're a private party, it's very difficult for Three Rivers to do that. We have certain requirements we have to follow when we do appraisal work that a private party doesn't. So where we might have put a $5,000 value on a small 3-foot easement, it's not necessarily uncommon for somebody else, a private appraisal, to come back with something significantly different in like 30,000. And then the courts have to figure out which appraisal is fair and valid. So it doesn't always go to our benefit in that respect, but we would never bring forward an eminent domain case that we didn't feel like there was another viable option that we could explore first. And again, we're spending a lot of time talking about this. That tool, while it's available to Three Rivers, is only available with municipal consent. So the city of Corcoran actually has the regulatory control and power to decide whether that tool is used or not Three Rivers.
Okay, and then one final follow-up, is the landowner in the case of an eminent domain dispute required to pay for their own legal representation, or is that handled by, in this case, Three Rivers, who's bringing forth the case?
That, I believe, is determined by the courts. So it would be like any other court case where I believe if it comes out favorably for Three Rivers in terms of the valuation, as well as that, yes, there's public good, that provides more protections, let's say for Three Rivers, that we don't have to pay legal fees for the private party. But if it comes out more that we weren't providing a fair offer, I believe then the private party can ask for some of their legal fees to be reimbursed. I am not the expert on that. So I am happy to do additional research and provide that to Jessica, and she can share that with you in the next council packet or park commission packet. But it's, I believe, up to the courts to decide. Typically, each party pays for its own legal representation.
Kelly, I could add some background to that.
Oh,
too.
thank you.
In the limited experience I have in this, but I believe there is a percentage threshold. So if the appraised value is a certain percentage above what your appraised value was, then you're required to pay the other party's legal fees. I can't remember exactly what that number is, but it seemed like it was substantial.
So again, it's reflective as to whether that first appraisal seemed fair and equitable for both parties or not in the eyes of the court.
I might also add too that when we do place offers for easements or property, we get appraisal, and we offer the appraised value. So this is not just staff coming up with the number. We use a professional certified appraiser to come up with a value, and that is the number that we offer. And in fact, that's the number that we're required to pay. So it's pretty, it's fair to both parties, fair to the property owner as well as fair to the taxpayers.
So I would like to just add one comment. I'm sorry to just keep circling around on this, but in general, so if we went through this process, not only would it require the city of Corcoran to approve this, it would require the Three Rivers Park Board to approve it, that we want this. And our board has stated publicly, we only acquire land through willing seller. So it is not a tool in the toolbox that we use.
But it has been used
very, very often.
Right.
I will just share one personal story. So my prior experience on the Plymouth City Council, the whole eminent domain came before me for the first time as a city council person. And what I learned through that process, because I had always heard the stories of the people who were protecting their land who don't want the government to take it. And what I learned is sometimes if the people they're willing to give up their land, but the actual declaration of eminent domain gives them a better bargaining position. So it becomes about money, not so much about freedom and right. So it's not always the case that you see on TV where the little old lady is, protecting her her, you know, long-term home or something like that. So each case, I would say we would have to look at, but we could do nothing without our board and this, the council of Corcoran agreeing on it.
I think I can also add that I misspoke before. We actually have had 2 trail corridor projects that we used it, both still regional trails, both still in fully developed communities. And in one case, what happened was there was a local attorney that caught wind of the project and figured out all of the different acquisition needs that we had, and they door knocked and were able to secure several clients that really were fine with the project, but took advantage of the opportunity to milk the taxpayer. And I'm sorry, that seems very crude. And we had a different instance where the property owner was actually like an appraisal company. And so they also very much knew that it was in their best interest to go through the eminent domain process and drag out the project, and that it would cost us significantly. And so they, while they weren't again opposed to the project or giving up the land, they knew how the process worked and knew that that they could get more money if they went through the court system.
Right. Yeah, my major concern in giving a recommendation is that we're on this commission as representatives of our community. So it's good to hear that this is a very infrequent course of action. And I think it's important for someone like me who's not well versed in eminent domain to get a better understanding of it. So that's my goal here.
I have a couple of questions. As far as sharing it with the snowmobile route, how does that work? Because I mean, you wouldn't want snowmobiles on your paved trails, would you? Or is that?
No, we would, it would not on the trail itself. No, we would, in situations where we can be parallel, we would look to acquire a wider corridor so we can accommodate the right of way we need for the trail, which is roughly, about 20 feet at a minimum, and then have additional space outside of that for the snowmobile trail. And there would be, of course, signage and other,
Okay.
informational signage to try to encourage snowmobilers to, to stay in a certain area away from the trail so they're not damaging the trail at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're trying to work with all uses here, and we thought that would be a creative way to be able to share the space, especially out here in Corcoran, where there's more opportunities and more space to be able to acquire such a larger right of way for both uses.
Okay, and then my other question was if the reasoning 116 at some point could be a 4-way. I know that I've heard murmurs of it someday being a 4-way. So if you were going to do it along 116, that seems kind of pointless if it's ever going to be a 4-way or even have turn lanes built into it, that you build a trail alongside it. Is that something that you guys have heard too, that it wouldn't be? It seems like it would be odd to do that.
Well, yeah, it would. The current right of way, though it's sizable for the road that it is now, you're right. Once you add in an extra set of lanes, it gets much smaller and gets even busier, and would be even less desirable than what people are imagining now.
And then the other question I have is, oh, sorry. The pink lines, are those going as much as possible around property lines rather than through them? There's a few that the lines kind of curve and it looks like it's going through a land plot, when if you couldn't, you just kind of try to go around those land plots rather than through them as much as possible. So, farm tractors don't have to worry about going over.
Yeah, we wouldn't be putting in the trail while there's still farming operations going on. If we were going through a property, again, think of this as being very flexible and conceptual. As a property develops, we would work with the developer and the city to find the route through that new development. So all that will be redesigned. Years from now, when the trail or the development actually starts to take shape and we have this more definition to how the property would be developed. So yeah,
I got a question. Alicia, were you looking at any particular area there?
Well, I mean, there was a couple,
Like on like that middle section up where the major farms were more?
yeah, exactly where your handprint is now. Well, where that handprint was.
Somebody didn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, just a little to the, I guess, east of where we're at right now. I can't. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there's 116 and probably close to what, well, down in, well, look, you can't see my cursor, can you?
No, well, I can see somebody's hand moving. I don't know whose it is. Are you moving around in a circle?
It's mine. Yep, I'm doing that. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so just to the left of that, it looks like there's plot lines that go. So why wouldn't you just straighten that out and go along those other trails? Rather than going crisscross through that property, why wouldn't you just straighten it out and go straight up that plot line?
That green dotted line is from the city's comp plan, where the city envisions trails in the future.
But the plot lines for the property lines, it goes straight up. So why wouldn't you just take that pink line and make it go straight up rather than weaving through all their property and stuff?
Well, again, it's the trail wouldn't be built until those larger parcels redeveloped, so that those farmers sell to a developer, say, and then it gets replatted, and then we would work with the developer in the city during the replatting process. It could be a straight line, it could be a totally different line than what's there now. That
you
line
like the weaving line because it's more park-like.
Yeah, right. Okay. It's more a more pleasurable experience. Sure. And the idea is that we would try to create, again, a wider corridor. We could do some plantings of trees, and make it more of a park-like experience, which is the goal. If we have just a straight line along a property line, then it's looks more like a sidewalk or what we call.
Yeah, I was just thinking less headaches in the long run.
Right. And it absolutely could be a less headache to just go north-south, one straight line. Showing it to kind of weave across the property shows the intent that that trail is intended to be developed in partnership with future developments. It becomes directly integrated into those neighborhoods, and it becomes this community asset or community spine that everything is built off of. So during the development, as they're starting to figure out what does each one of those parcels look like, it very well could be that in one parcel, it needs to be right along the westerly property line because that's what makes sense, where in the other one, it shifts east.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So I have a couple of questions. I'm wondering about what you're thinking for crossing 116. It sounded like that was an issue for a bunch of folks.
It was, yeah. And 116 probably will increase in traffic, right?
We can be pretty sure of that, yeah.
Dayton interchange.
I was wondering about the four-way.
Yeah, exactly. So we would try to work with the county and the city when that road is expanded. There's likely to be maybe some other features in the road as far as additional lights. Maybe there's an opportunity for an underpass. Maybe there's roundabouts. Roundabouts are safer crossings than, at least there's some control there and traffic slows down. So again, we'd be opportunistic there and wait to see what happens with the highway and coordinate. And this is a situation too where that line might move if there is something that's built for the new highway that provides a safer crossing. We would likely try to move the line to match up with that.
Okay. Sure. And then sort of a landscape architecture question. Corcoran's sort of famous for its, I'm sure you noticed this, its wetlands. And then we also have some nice pieces of woods. not so many of those, but how do you work with the wetlands and the woods to make the trail both functional and at the same time scenic?
Well, I can take that one,
Sure.
Stefan. Obviously, we're being a park system, we don't like to remove trees whenever possible. So when we design a trail through an area, we really seek to, minimize the impact to the natural landscape as much as possible. We of course have the ability to build boardwalks. We have representations of that across our system now. And while they are expensive, they are a great touch point with nature for people in a wetland area. A lot of wetlands are not going to be developed, right? Nothing's going to be built on them. And so they're really, even though they're costly, they do provide a really nice experience for people and enable them to touch the wetland and be in it through their trail use experience. So we have that precedence, we can do it. But again, wooded areas as well. Part of the goal of this project is not only to create a park-like experience, but to connect areas of natural resource value. So along the way, we have a natural resource inventory from the county, and we analyzed it. We looked at that during our analysis to find out where are the areas that are valuable that we want to connect to and maybe even preserve.
Yeah.
And even if I could add, during the more detailed design, we will take a close look at where the more sensitive areas are, make sure not to impact those any more than we have to. If there are existing paths already through the woods, take advantage of that, maybe being along the outskirts. We really want to minimize impacts to the resources.
Great. That's kind of what I was expecting, but yeah, it is all in the details, isn't it? It's moving a trail a few feet one way or the other can sometimes make a big difference.
Yeah, it sure does. And that happens when we're actually ready to build the trail during the design phase.
Yeah. And I really support the western route. I think it makes good sense, mostly because it's not land that's is highly developed. If the trail goes in at the time of development, how do you avoid having the trail look like it's running through everybody's backyard? Is that just my imagination that's running away with me?
Well, yeah, there is that. We again try to work with the developers in the city to get it as scenic of a corridor as we can, as wide as we can, so that we can maybe do some reforestation.
Okay.
We've got examples of other trails that were, farmland, vacant land that we brought in, new tree species and actually created. We're trying to create a woodlot there to create some separation and some buffer between the trail and the adjacent developments. But we try to get as much corridor as we can so we can work with that and vegetate it.
Great. Okay. And then one last.
Oh, could I speak to that as well?
Absolutely.
I think that's where we really work closely with the city to come up with a shared vision. So if the city shares the vision with Three Rivers on this being a park-like experience, then when it comes time to work with developers, we're in the same page on we need a larger outlet than just a 20-foot trail easement, because we really need space next to the trail to either protect and preserve existing trees or to come and restore and add trees that would create a really nice buffer that would designate the park-like trail from people's backyards. So we have different spots in our system where we've approached it differently. In some corridors on the Medicine Lake regional trails, you could be biking or walking on any one of those corridors and not really realize that in 50 feet from centerline, it is people's backyards, because we've been able to add so much vegetation or preserve so much vegetation. And then we have other pieces on our trails system where we weren't able to work that closely with the community, and it's really a 20-foot corridor, and you can absolutely tell that you're immediately adjacent to people's private property in their backyards or their front yards. So that's where it's important for us to be on the same page really right now and moving forward with that shared vision, so that when development comes in, we're on the same page. We understand that Three Rivers is responsible to pay for this trail corridor and to really secure those property rights, but we need the city's help in connecting with the developer. And in some cases, the city would use park dedication to secure the property, and then we would reimburse or find some compensation so that the city is made whole with their park dedication. That level of detail kind of comes at the next stage through a cooperative agreement. But the message I want you to know is that the city still is still really very much in the driver's seat as we move forward with this concept and it becomes reality. And we start thinking about how wide should the corridor be through this parcel or that parcel. Every time we acquire property, we still have to come back by law and get the city's municipal consent or blessing. So you'll have lots of opportunities to review this project moving forward and making sure that it is meeting the local community's needs and that you're comfortable with each and every step of the way.
Great, thank you, Kelly.
It was kind of part of one of my questions, maybe Kelly, I think you hit on it. So how does that affect our park dedication fees? Say that 100-acre parcel develops, we would normally have our fees, but you're going through it and you're looking for more.
Right. So the community, you guys have the opportunity to do the cash in lieu of, or to ask for land, right? Anytime parcel develops, and usually it's roughly 10%. I don't know what it is for your community.
Yes.
We might ask you to go for and secure 10%. And then to deed that property to us, and then we would reimburse the city for the loss of their local park dedication. And that could come from that we're paying you the direct value of the land, or that if you were charging each unit $3,000 and you would have paid that, or you would have received, let's say $30,000 because it's 10 units, we would pay you the $30,000, so that regardless of the scenario, we're working in partnership with the city to figure out the right tool for that particular development, and that the city is made whole at the end of the day to be in our land agent.
Cool.
It's not in our best interest to rip the city off by any means, because we are in it with the long haul, and we need your support every step of the way.
Thank you.
I just had one last question, and that's if it's a destination trail, we have to worry about parking and toilets.
Well,
I was going to ask that too, Tom, if there are going to be toilets along the trail at all, because I saw the cute little maps and everything, but are there going to be biffs, you know, like at 19 and 10, there's biffs or there's bathrooms. And I'm just wondering if there's going to be any facilities along that whole corridor.
So I can take this one. So we, once we get further in the plan, we will identify areas where we would consider a good location for a future trailhead. Now, when I say trailhead, that can mean a lot of different things. It might mean,
you have to have access for a
access,
truck to come
right? Yeah. And so a lot of times what we like to do is use an existing city park or existing city hall or existing facility where we work with the local city to identify it as a trailhead, maybe signage in our kiosk. But in the summer, in busy areas, we do have some areas where we will install the temporary biffs, restrooms. But we don't generally just build restrooms as part of the regional trail. We that requires running water and a lot of utilities. The system's not constructed like that. But the system does have areas where we will identify trailheads. And like I said, we try to use existing facilities.
Well, you could use the community park, Corcoran Community Park for one.
Great example. Yeah. Yep.
But then further north of that, well, you've got that new development, the Bellwether development. That's not public though.
Right. So
but that still would be accessible by a truck. But I don't think they'd want to look at that.
Right. I mean, we haven't gotten that far in the analysis of this yet. We're still in the process of let's find the route, right?
Sure.
and then figure out where the other amenities will go. But we do provide amenities such as wayfinding and all those things, and occasionally, like I said, temporary bathrooms in busy areas.
So
what is on the corner of 10 and 19? Are those biffs or are those actual bathrooms?
Those are, I believe they're vault latrine toilets that we provided and created that trailhead on the Lake Independence Regional Trail. So that tool is still available to us here if we don't find
Yeah.
other local parks that we can kind of tie into and connect and build off of. We can look at doing that same level of amenity here as well.
Right.
Sure.
Councilmember Nichols would also like to ask a question. So the floor is yours, sir. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah.
I often have that problem. Thank you. Hello, commissioners. Hello, Three Rivers people. It's a pleasure to talk with all of you. I wanted to express my thanks for all the work you've all put into this. It was really impressive to see the level of detail and thought that you put in and how many things you're able to connect with the design. As a former consumer of the Medicine Lake Regional Trail on a daily basis, I really value this kind of amenity. So I really hope that we can help this proceed successfully. I had a couple questions. One of them is, it looks like you are planning, at least at this point, to have a spur that would connect to City Hall, which isn't terribly far from Maple Hill, which you mentioned previously. Is there any desire or ability to try to connect some kind of a spur to give better access to some of those underserved areas that don't have a lot of park access currently as part of the project?
You mean from Maple Hill to the park?
To the trail, yes.
Yeah, that would be a excellent idea. Our main goal and project is for the regional trail, and that would be a good example of where a local trail connection to that neighborhood would make a lot of sense, like it would to a lot of other neighborhoods that will be developing here as well too. But the other thing is that yellow dotted line represents another search corridor. I guess we haven't mentioned that yet, but that's the Weaver Lake Regional Trail search corridor. Again, think of that as a real broad, real flexible conceptual line, but maybe there's an opportunity there too for a regional trail to come close to the neighborhood, but that would be in the future.
Okay.
Is the green line one of ours? The green dotted line over by the trailer park? Those are
Yes.
our lines, correct?
All the green dotted lines are from the city's trail plan in your comp plan.
Jessica?
Okay, the city's trail to connect.
Yes.
Jessica, I don't know, this might be a feat for you, but is there a way to put our 2040 comp plan MUSA area next to where this pink line is? Do you know what I'm saying?
I
How
won't be able
far-
to overlay it on this meeting. I mean, I
Right.
could work on, I'd probably have to work with Landform or
or you
Wank.
can't just do two screens or something?
I don't think I have that technology. I'm lucky to have Adobe.
I know I'm asking a lot, aren't I?
Well,
But I'm just thinking, along
I couldn't do it.
116, a lot of that will be the MUSA area with higher development. So those farmlands we were looking at, or where Alicia was saying, hey, why is this kitty corner
Yeah.
across? If those are going to be MUSA areas, they could very easily develop in the next 10 to 20 years, very easily.
I can see what I can do and maybe use
Right.
like Snagit. It wouldn't be the best quality, but
That's
I
all
could
about our
definitely,
speed, honey.
Snag it.
Snag it. I like it.
I'll see what I can do and I can
It was
try
just
and
a thought
send something out.
because, seeing where it's going, yeah, I think there's.
Snag it, don't shag it.
Jessica, I can save you the snag it. I have that information and I can more easily overlay that onto our drawings. So I'll provide that for you.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
And then my next question, I think, is akin to one that Tom asked before about, he specifically asked about a tunnel under 116. We are going to have a similar issue, actually, with the view that you're showing right now, where the trail would be connecting to the Corcoran Community Park and then crossing over into what will soon be the Rush Creek Reserve neighborhood. That'll be across Highway 10, which also has a pretty heavy traffic load.
Yep.
And it would be very interesting to see what we could do to develop some kind of a tunnel or a safe crossing to get around the county's road as part of this project at some point.
And are overpasses just so much more expensive than underpasses, and that's why they're not on any of the plans?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, I assume that, but I just.
Yeah, and also usually they're reserved for longer stretches as well too, over wider freeways and so forth. But with the ADA slopes going, approaching the whatever grade separated crossing you have, it does take up a lot of space, a lot of length, whether it be declining into a tunnel or underpass, or ascending up over a bridge, which ends up being longer because you have to be so high over the highway.
So, dumb question. That there's already the creek that runs through the park. The Elm Creek that runs through the park. And there's already a tunnel kind of, or a culvert that goes underneath that road. It's a little bit further north. Is that something you could build on top of? Or would you have to build a completely separate underpass?
Yeah, we wouldn't want to share a culvert with the drainage patterns there. And of course, we want to be out of the floodplain. We don't want to have the trail flood.
Because that's a pretty wet area already.
Yeah, so we have not looked into the specifics of this area to know on the feasibility of a tunnel or not. I know the county has had discussions about a safe crossing of Highway 10 here as well too, and there was talk of at least having a median in 10 as a possibility. So it's something that I know the city and the county are looking closely at, providing a safe crossing of 10 from that new development to the community park.
Yeah, and at this point, it's really traffic times. It's 8:30 in the morning, it's noon, and then it's 5:30. But at some point, with all of these homes coming in, it's going to be all the time.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out, this is Danny here with Three Rivers, to Councilmember Nichols' comment about a connection over 10 and 116 as well. The plan will identify these areas, and we will make recommendations in the master plan for what we think is the best application for a crossing. The master plan doesn't get into that detail engineering and design level. It just identifies, that we realize that we're going to need an enhanced safe crossing of this roadway. So that will be part of the plan that we're discussing tonight.
Excellent. There'll be another one, I think, in the southern end of the trail. So if you look down closer to the Hackamore area, there's a lot of new development. Tavera is going in, I think, through the area where you're proposing, which I think is a nice fit. But there'll be development on the east side of 116 also. So another safe crossing somewhere in that area would also be appreciated, I think. Farther south from here, actually, no, sorry. Yeah, somewhere between 66th Avenue and Hackamore. I think the 66th is going to be Gleason Parkway when that extends, if I remember correctly. And I believe that passes into what will be Tavera. So that intersection would be a nice one to have some kind of a safe crossing as well.
That's 66th.
Okay, that's a lot of great information. Judy, did you have any comments or questions? I can't see you right now.
Judy, you're muted if you do have anything.
That's not.
Okay, all right. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, if not, I'm looking for a motion to recommend accepting the Diamond Lake Trail proposal.
So moved, Anderson.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
Okay, roll call. Anderson,
Aye.
Christensen,
I'll go with aye.
Dugan, John,
Johnny D, where you
Sorry,
at?
I was muted. Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Meister votes aye, Nybo,
Aye.
and Streller.
Aye.
Okay, the motion has passed. Thank you so much for your time. That was very, very interesting and informative.
Very good. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for your great questions, and we'll work with staff and look to bring this to the city council in the near future here.
Great.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
for having us.
Time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Good to see you all again. Yep.
Too.
Bye-bye.
Good evening.
Bye-bye.
That's great.
Our meeting just got cut in half in terms of size.
That works for me.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, we are on number 8, unfinished business. And there is no unfinished business on the agenda. So, number 9, new
set up.
business, public comment opportunity.
And like I said, it got cut in half as far as size is concerned, and we still don't have any additional participants, so we can move
Okay.
past that.
Awesome. All right. The year in review
Yes.
and priorities.
So in 2020, you guys worked on quite a few things, even though we had a minimal amount of meetings. One of them, the city park master plan. So planning what phase 1 looked like for hopefully the upcoming city park. You guys sat through many a meeting where I presented what I was working on. Many council updates. Thank you, Tom, for the most part. Garden club updates. We've had Three Rivers attend a work session, and now we've come full circle. We have also worked on the Bellwether open space park planning process a little bit. And so looking towards 2021, the Diamond Lake Regional Trail obviously was another thing that you guys would continue to work on. Bellwether open space park is going to be another thing on upcoming agendas. The city park remaster and park dedication fund allocation. So 3 of the things you guys have already looked at in 2020, and we'll just keep on trucking with them. The park dedication fund allocations, you guys got a little more information on what is all eligible for park dedication fund and how it works, a little deeper insight to it. And so now the idea is for 2021 to acknowledge these upcoming projects such as Bellwether, City Park, and other projects that might use those funds, and begin allocating those funds for those projects. So kind of bookmarking them so that you know, okay, we've already not so much used it yet, but you're planning to use it on these projects. So unless anyone has any other priorities that they wanted to add to that, now is your time to speak up. Otherwise, Commissioner Anderson, go ahead.
I think that we should make a review for completion on Wildflower Park. It's been there now for a couple of summers, and maybe do a field either some of us go for a field trip, but to review the kind of around the edges. Is the parking where we want it? Is the signage where we want it? We had some wildflowers that we were supposed to be planting. Are those planted and flourishing, or do we need to come back and revisit some of those? I think as the playground equipment, I think has looked great. I think it's working well. I think it's it's probably a big hit, but all those other things that we can say, yes, that park is done, and then really switch to maintenance mode on keeping it looking good.
Can you tell me where is Wildflower Park?
It's in Ravinia. It's the neighborhood park in the Ravinia development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ah.
There it is. Jessica's got a picture of the equipment.
Is that the one behind her? Looks fancy.
Yeah.
Oops.
It's like a 4-acre neighborhood park with playground equipment and then some landscaping around it. It's the landscaping that's kind of comes to mind.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I will chime in. It's a great park from a play equipment perspective, but the trees are in a little bit of a sorry state. I don't know if any of you have been over there lately, but I think winter kill has kind of set in on several of them. So that might be something to take a look at.
I believe that we are in works with Lennar, as I'm 98% sure it's their responsibility, and they're the ones who are supposed to switch out the trees.
Okay.
But Brad gave the thumbs up. So that would be him saying yes. So
Very good.
that is the plan. I know that in previous years, there's been discussion of doing like a park tour. And I think it mostly focused on City Park, but maybe you guys want to look at both parks. And I don't know, maybe including the Memorial Garden as well, since I know the Garden Club has put in a lot of work. It might be a nice, we go on a nice field trip. Get
Yeah,
you
or
guys out
just
of the
even
house or out of
assign
the
it.
City Hall.
We love
Let's wait
city-
till the mosquitoes are out,
As always.
as always, yeah.
We could just make it an assignment and we can each go on our own
It's true too.
when we have time.
Also
Go
an
see all the
option, we could
parks.
do it similar to how you guys did Bellwether. I could
Yeah, I
tag
like that.
along
That
and
was
then
fun.
give a couple
Sign
of
up.
options for times.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Given
Yeah.
COVID times, that might be the better option if we're still under
Yeah.
certain guidance. So
Yeah.
I
The
will
vaccination
add that.
is-
Thank you.
Okay, fabulous. All right. Moving on.
Do we
reports
have
and
a list of parks? I mean, just out of curiosity, do we have a list of parks in the city or in that we are responsible for?
They would be listed on the city website. So we've got Wildflower Park, City Park, and then the Memorial Garden technically counts as a park. I believe we also already have the land for Ravinia Open Space Park as well as Bellwether Open Space Park. Brad, I would need you to confirm. I believe we have Bellwether and Ravinia though for open space park land. I just don't think that it's necessarily visited by the public frequently.
Right. Right. I just wondered what was our exactly, what did we have that were exactly considered parks in Corcoran?
I'm sorry, Jess. I was typing a council report and trying to listen. Did you say that
You
again?
multitasker, you.
Love
I
it.
had to say your name first so that you could.
the chair recognizes Mr. Martins, who is doing other things.
I have a packet deadline tomorrow morning for the council packet next week. I'm behind.
Okay, fine.
Sorry, what information were we looking for?
Did
Do
you
we
have something
have-
to add about the park?
Do we have the land already acquired for Ravinia and Bellwether open space parks?
Ravinia, yes. Bellwether, most of it. And that being said, later on, you'll review the active planning reports, and there's actually a concept plan for Bellwether expansion. I'm going to council soon that would really finish that up as well. I'll listen better from here on out.
Well, if there's questions on the next one, that'll be all you. It's the active planning application, so.
Yeah. Yes, active planning applications. That is you, Brad.
There's a lot going on. So
You
if
just
have
got
any
a lot of
questions,
paper turning.
just let me know.
Brad, when you say informational only, does that mean just read it yourself? Or are you going to go over any of the planning?
Yeah, no, I wasn't. Typically, it's just informational and then an opportunity for any of you to ask any questions about anything
Okay.
on that. Or, typically it's been kind of an what's happening
Okay.
around town type discussion if needed. Trish Cougar would, ask a lot of questions about stuff back in the day, those types of things.
Right. Okay, would anyone like to ask any questions about any of the planning proposals in the works?
Yes, but I'm not going to.
Okay,
You know how to reach me.
anyone
too.
else?
I'm good.
Okay. Then Jessica, recreation coordinator update.
Yes, so it's been a few months since you guys have heard my voice, and I'm so happy to see your faces again. I can't wait until we can do this in person. As far as things I've been working on, they hold true pretty much every meeting. Baseball registration did open. Resident registration opened last Monday, and then it opened to all this Monday. We actually have more residents registered currently as far as percentage goes than any other year.
Yay.
We're currently at 29% are residents, which seems still low, and I know that, but I feel that we're normally in the ballpark of 5 to 10% is residents. So I think that's a start.
Huge.
I
So
mean,
how
it's a
many
big
have
improvement.
registered already?
90
All of,
94.
Wow.
So 21 are residents, 73 are not.
awesome.
This time I got the numbers before I came into the meeting because I know you guys always
Knew
ask.
we were gonna ask. That's
Either
pretty
I'm
good,
psychic
Loki.
or I'm intuitive or
Good
You're
job.
just good at your job.
Oh,
Been
thank
around too
you.
long already.
I appreciate you guys saying that in front of the new council members. Other things, attending monthly meetings for Country Days. I attended the January one, which actually took place yesterday. So I already got to see Val once this week, and I'm very thrilled that I get to see her twice. As far as EOC manager duties, so Emergency Operations Center manager, it is still virtual. So I am currently housed out of the police department side of things, but I will be reunited with the city hall side of Corcoran soon enough. But currently, I submitted the final CARES report for the $439,000 or $436,000 that we got from the state. I've been monitoring MDH and CDC guidance to make sure that we're following it as a city, but also keeping up with it for preparedness plans for baseball and soccer and making sure that we're headed down the right path and hopefully things can run without a hitch this year. I'm also doing an EOC correspondence to the city staff to keep them informed of any updates as far as COVID is concerned. I put together your Parks and Trails Commission packet and all the materials that went with it, aside from the couple that Brad throws in there and Three Rivers as well. I attend Minnesota Recreation and Park Association meetings to make sure I'm up to date in the field and see what other cities are doing to hopefully get ideas that I can bring back. And the big thing today was packing things up and getting ready to move over to the city hall side. Like I said, I get to be reunited with my people soon enough and we will have a new space. So that's very exciting. Final thing is the ice rinks. I'm sure most of you have heard the warming house is going to be closed this year, which does mean that we won't have ice rink attendance. However, we did get an automatic timer for the lights, which is exciting. But so overseeing, I was working on staffing for it in the beginning of all of this, but then when that did get pulled and we couldn't even have the warming house open because I think you could have 75% of a person inside of it for guidance. Yeah, we decided that probably wasn't going to work. I've also updated the weather line and registration for the 2021 soccer season. So if anyone has any questions, please go ahead.
Jessica?
Well, first you gotta do this. You gotta do this.
Were the rinks ever flooded at all?
So they have been working.
once.
They have been working on flooding them. The unfortunate thing is when it gets above freezing, it starts to melt. The ice gets really choppy. If it gets too cold, the
Right.
ice is not very good. And then on top of that, you've got snow and other duties that Public Works have been, I guess, taking care of is kind of the best response I can give, but they are working very hard. I did talk to Pat this morning, the Public Works Superintendent, if no one is familiar or if certain people aren't familiar. And he said, if we can get weather to cooperate, we can get some ice.
Okay,
They are,
that's what it was.
they are working
It's
and have
timing.
been,
The
yeah.
timing hasn't been right for, but when they maybe could have done it, they didn't, and then they waited, and then they did it, and they put a bunch of snow on it, and then they flooded it, and then it got warm, and it was just a mess. It's impossible season to work with. I think for them, I would not want to be in their shoes.
Many cities had a very hard time getting off the ground. And the cities that did get off the ground early are the ones that have refrigerated rinks. So
yeah,
unfortunately, it's just been either unlucky or terrible timing.
It's both. It's just, it's a tough year. It's a tough weather year.
At this point, they still hope to get them up, but I think we maybe make it through February most years. So fingers crossed. This is the one time I'm hoping for cold weather. But
yeah, really. Okay. Yeah, I guess I've seen people skating on the city lakes and they just flood those. So it's already cold and they can do it.
There you go. If there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. Well, I'll get our skates out. All right. You got that.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Okay, triple axle. Okay, let's see. City council report.
Hey, that's me.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you.
Tom.
Thank you. Thank you. It's
Welcome.
great to be here. I appreciate you guys having me, and great to see everyone and meet everyone that I hadn't met yet. There's a whole bunch, I guess, since the last time you guys have met in, what was it, September, I believe?
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch in the packet that maybe Commissioner Anderson or Brad would be better to fill you in on some of that stuff since I wasn't there. But I'm happy to get into whatever, if you guys have any questions on anything prior to the first of the year. Otherwise, I'm more than happy to go over our last council meeting. It wasn't the most exciting, but we had got a few things done, and there's a lot on the horizon here in the next couple of weeks, next month. That'll keep us plenty busy. So I'm sure there'll be a lot to report next meeting. But so just to cover what we did on the 14th, Manoj, Councilman Thomas took his oath of office, as did I. We did our annual appointments, commission liaisons. You guys got stuck with me. I apologize. Went over the city calendar, set up a couple work sessions. We just had our first one yesterday and it went really well. Got a follow-up on February 3rd. And that was about it.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to get to work. You guys are going to have an exciting year, I feel like, with Parks and Trails here with the whole Diamond Lake. I mean, that's really cool. So I'm excited to work with all you guys on that, and it's a fun project.
Tom, I'm glad to see that you guys are doing goal setting. The city council is so busy that if you don't have some goals, all you end up doing is reacting to what's happened in the last couple of weeks. And that's a tough way to run a city. So good work on that, long-term thinking.
Thank you. Yeah. I was glad we were able to get it going so soon. Brad was huge in getting that figured out logistically, and so far so good. Got
good. Oh, that's
up.
Great. Yeah. It's interesting times in Corcoran. Yeah.
No kidding.
Busy times. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions anyone has on anything prior in the packet. There's plenty to read in there. There's been a lot going on, but you guys all have my contact information. I'm happy to chat anytime, so feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
Good. Will do.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
All right, a garden club report.
The garden club, it's kind of long winter's nap for the garden club. Although the garden club does have a Facebook a page, and somebody is talking about starting some seeds. So spring is kind of, we're getting that. Our calendar keeps turning. So yeah, it'll
Tom,
be here
are
soon.
you a member of the Bee Club?
I am not. No.
Oh, okay.
I was. My bees died though. So
you were? Okay. I wanted to get bees, but I was like, alas.
Yeah, talk to Ken.
Yeah, he's the expert.
He's the expert.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they did have a bee club, so I don't know if it's still running.
Okay.
We were able to get the tree permit, thanks to Jessica.
Oh, for the giveaway?
Yes.
For the giveaway, yeah.
But we had to pay for the permit again.
Right.
I did request funding from the JCs and they approved it.
Okay.
So.
And that's awesome. It just, excuse me, it makes me mad. I use better words there. That we have to pay for a permit to give trees away.
I've tried time and time again.
That's outrageous.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. But do we have a date on that, Tom, or have you ordered yet, or any of that?
I was going to look today, and I forgot to go out and look to see if the list of trees is even there. Probably is not there yet.
I actually checked today, Tom, and it's not.
It's not. Okay, thank you, Phil.
You have time.
We have more tree nerds.
Yeah.
So as soon as the list goes up, then we have to kind of narrow it down to a manageable number, and then make the order. We usually do that right away. And Jessica is going to run the selection process like she did last year, which worked I think, really well for most everybody. And hopefully the pickup will be earlier in the season, and just a little steadier hand on that. We can't give away the trees till we get them, and so we're kind of at the mercy of
It was
Wright
really
County.
affected by COVID last year too.
Yeah, it's
The
just
delivery
right.
dates.
Yep.
So, yeah, hopefully that won't affect it as much. Okay.
Great.
On to park dedication fund. We kind of touched on that.
I noticed we didn't earn any interest in November, December. Has it really gone down to zero, our interest rate?
It might be that Joe just hasn't had time to input it. He is very busy. I
Just want to make sure everything's accounted for.
And actually, Chair Meister, I am realizing that on the enhanced agenda, the commissioner term update got left off. That was 11B. So if we can jump back to that quick.
Okay.
That was on my end. My apologies.
Okay.
So Commissioners Nybo and Strahler, the term for you guys is technically up on February 28th of this year. However, you are more than welcome to reapply. I did send you the application a few weeks ago. I believe it was before the end of 2020. And I sent you a blank application as well as your previous application. So let you know what you said on the last one. It took some tracking it down. But so I sent those over if you need them.
Anyone else?
So if you would be interested in reapplying, that is your option. And then it would go to council on, I believe, the second meeting of February. Brad, if you want to confirm that, or was it the first? The second meeting of February, so February 25th. So I would need it by the Wednesday or Thursday before that meeting at the latest.
So
Wednesday
get
or
our
Thursday
together,
week
huh?
before. I can give you a date. The 17th or 18th, just so that I can get it into the packet so that they can review it.
Okay.
Either approve or
Thank
deny.
you for the reminder.
You are so welcome.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the park dedication fund? We good? Okay. Other business or announcements? Okay, and the liaison calendar. Is everyone good with the dates that they're assigned?
I might be gone on the 25th.
You gone on the 25th?
I might be. I think I'm coming home on the 24th, but I haven't bought my tickets yet.
Where you going?
Gonna go see my mommy. I haven't seen her in over a year.
Awesome. Where?
In Florida.
Awesome. Do you want to trade with me then?
Sure. Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be
take the
slick.
11th and I'll take the 25th.
Okay. Thanks, Val. That'd be awesome.
That way you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, so now I'm gonna ask a question. Like, looks like Jeremy Nichols and Alan Schultz are still here, but we don't see them. If I do the council meeting, is that what I do? Look at Brad laughing at me. I am so.
That's what I would do
you
if I were you.
You what?
Yeah, that totally
There
works.
he is.
That's what I would do if I were you.
But how do you do that? That's what I want to know.
So there
There's
should be an
a-
arrow at the
there's
top
a
of your
stop
screen.
video button.
Val.
Oh, I see the stop video.
Mhm.
Mike,
There you go.
There you
did
go.
it.
I did it. Okay, and then now I see mute too. Brad, I'm getting so good.
You are good. You are so ready
John,
to
you
not be heard or seen.
I think Mayor
know what?
McKee is realizing he picked the right commission.
You know what, Val? You're a
Definitely.
high-tech chick.
Dang right.
no kidding.
Definitely.
We're the fun ones, you know.
Yeah.
I can
yeah.
tell already.
Val,
Thank
Val's
you,
a high-tech chick.
everyone, for your help.
Okay. All right, anybody
We
else?
switched dates, we're good, right?
What was that, Jim?
I took
Val?
the 25th, right, Alicia?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else want to switch? Okay. All
Thanks.
right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Anderson,
Aye.
Christensen,
Aye.
Dugan,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Meister votes aye, Nybo,
Aye.
and Streller.
Aye.
Okay. The meeting
I like
is
this. I think it's wine
adjourned.
time.